The terrible thing about bounces is there's usually not only one. My name is Greg. You're watching How to Play Paintball. Okay, so this was actually a question when I had done my Q&A. Someone was asking about like, oh, can you do a breakdown of all the bounce shots that were on this field? So what I decided to do was actually redo one of my videos that I had done previously, just explaining more about bounce shots. I had done one a while ago, and it's one of those things that some people get really annoyed by, but it also is just an aspect of the game. Whether you like it or not, it's one of those things that you just have to deal with, and you have to have in the back of your mind, and also you can use it to your advantage. So when you're thinking about bounce shots, you want to think about the angle of bunkers. So let's just talk the bunkers themselves and then kind of explain the thought process. So you have to kind of think about math. I'm sorry, I am a teacher. I taught math for a semester, I think it was. I mainly teach science, but still, there's math involved with just the geometry of bunkers, how the bunkers are actually laid out, with how the bounce shot is actually going to occur. So when you have a Dorito like this, you have to think about if the ball is hitting anywhere here, because of the angle of the Dorito, it's going to bounce and usually skip up. It's not going to go straight across. There might be a couple that do, maybe if there's like a crease or something like that. But for the most part, when you're shooting the side of a Dorito, because of the shape of the Dorito, it's probably going to skip up a little bit. So if you're looking at a bunker thinking, oh, that might go into that particular bunker there, it's one of those things that you want to think about. If the guy is really low and there's a Dorito, it's going to be a lower chance that it's going to skip off and go into him. Now, if you are shooting into, let's say, someone that is standing tall on you and you kind of roll back and shoot into a Dorito, that might work because it's probably going to skip up. Now, depending on where you hit it as well, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. So let's go ahead and actually use this as an example for the Dorito. If I was in this tower, usually a tower you're going to be standing up a little bit more in. If I was in a position that I can shoot this Dorito, there's a chance that I'm going to be able to skip it off and it's going to skip up a little bit into this player. So if I was here shooting, let's say from this tower, I'm controlling a certain side and I start hearing that bunker getting shot, I might want to drop low. So this is something that you can use to play against someone trying a bounce shot on you. But if you are looking at it and you're like, oh, I think that bounce shot might work, regardless with practice or even events, it's better to put paint in the air than to not shoot. So if there is someone in this kind of a position and I have a chance of shooting here, it doesn't hurt just to shoot and hit it into the Dorito, knowing that it's probably going to skip up a little bit, again, just because of the geometry of the bunker itself. So an Aztec or a tower like this are pretty much the same kind of an angle. They're not completely bent over or have that real harsh angle like a Dorito does, but they still do have a little bit of an angle. But for the most part, there's not going to be a huge difference in the amount that it would hit and bounce off. So when you're looking at something like this, if it looks like, hey, this might actually be able to go right in, it might go up a little bit more than what you were shooting at before. So let's say if I was shooting here, it might go up a little tiny bit, but there's a good chance that it's probably going to go straight across. The good thing with a bunker like this is I can shoot different parts of it and have different effects. So maybe the guy tries to get low, or you just think, okay, think 2 steps ahead. If I'm standing tall in a bunker and someone shoots here and I drop low to get out of the way of it, it's probably going to be smart to shoot the lower spot as well. With bounce shots, if you kind of move up and down the bunker, you're going to be able to get those shots coming in at different angles to make it really difficult for that player to stay alive. Okay, so now let's talk about cans, and this also goes for cakes and a little bit of the bricks and the wings. Now, the bricks, sometimes they are going to bow out a little bit, but for the most part, they're going to be pretty much straight up and down. Same thing with the wings. And so you can use this, pins as well. So pins are usually going to be, for example, actually that Sunshine State Major, when I was playing the center, people could shoot that pin and it would skip into me. So I had to be mindful of that to remember, okay, if I start hearing that, I might need to tuck in, give up a shot, but still keep a shot on another section to contain a player. But whenever you're looking at a can and you're thinking about, I think that might go in, pretty much anywhere you hit, it's going to go more direct across. Again, depending on the angle that you're shooting at, if you're shooting up a little bit, it's probably going to skip up a little bit more. It's going to have that pretty much same trajectory. It's not going to change a whole lot, but you're able to use the bunker to your advantage. So for instance, let's say that I'm in this, this brick and my job is to look this way. If I start hearing this bunker getting shot, it's probably because it's going to be skipping into here. There's a good chance that someone can wrap, bounce it off here, and if I'm here, if I'm not tucked in enough, it might be able to skip in and hit me. So you want to, again, think about, okay, maybe that guy is, especially with the center, if there's bunkers near the center, a smart center player is going to be very patient and not going to shoot. We literally just had that today when we were doing some drills. I got up and I didn't shoot. All I did was nod my head so that the guy behind me knew what was happening. I had in the back of my mind, okay, the other team probably thinks, or the other players probably think that there's someone in the center, but I want it to be that they don't know for sure. Like maybe I moved back, maybe I did something else. So I'm going to be very patient. With lower divisional players, they might not be as patient, but as you move up the divisions, those center players, if their job is to stop a certain side, they're going to figure out a way to just stay dedicated to that. So if I was in here, or if I was in another spot over there, and I start hearing this bunker getting hit, if I was playing the brick, I'm going to want to tuck in a little bit more, or maybe lay down and make it more difficult for that bounce shot to come in. If I'm on that other side of the field and I look and see that, oh, I think that guy is posted this way, or I check off and see the guy posted, I'm probably going to try to shoot this bunker because that's going to be something that can bounce in, either eliminate this player or make it so that myself or a teammate can now move further up the field of where they were posted to make it more difficult for that player to move across. So it's going to be really hard to tell you exactly like, okay, this distance is always going to work. Bounce shots can be a little bit tricky depending on what angle you're shooting at. I'm going to explain a little bit more about like the depth and all of that. But you want to look at the angle. So looking at this field, if I was looking at this bunker, I know that just the shape of the cake itself is probably going to be able to bounce into this wing here. So if I was further up on this side and I know that someone is posted here, maybe I can find a way to come out, stay low so this player doesn't know that I'm shooting, and start hitting this bunker so that way it skips in. Even if it's enough just to put that player in so that I can move further up the field, then we can pinch that player. Or it's going to bounce in, eliminate that player. The same thing goes for if I am playing this bunker. I need to know what bunker is it that they can get to shoot this. So this is the kind of angle that I would be looking at of, oh, okay, I think that might actually go in. So another example is this pin and this Dorito. It's going to be a little bit more difficult for them to bounce it super straight in, but if they're further down the other side of the field, there's a chance that they can bounce it and it's going to come in back over here. Now, if I'm tucked in playing the other side of the bunker, I'm going to be pretty safe. It's not going to be something I really need to worry about. But if I check off this way, or maybe my pack is out a little bit more, I'm not playing tight enough as I should, or let's say it's just another player, they're not playing as tight as they should, that bounce shot might come in and clip them in the pack. So these are the kinds of things that if you don't have something to shoot at, or if you know that that bounce is there, just putting pressure on a player isn't a bad thing. You can put yourself in a situation that the player, it's going to be super difficult for them to live. If you make it really hard for them to be able to battle, maybe their elbows start sticking out more, maybe a pack sticks out. You don't need to come out and, one ball them in the face. Everyone loves to do that. That's a great feeling when you run and gun out or shoot someone. All of that is fantastic. But remember, paintball is a team sport. So if I can at least push that player into another player's gun, I still did my job. It's like an assist, like an alley-oop or whatever. So even though I still helped that player be able to go and get that, so now our team is up on the other team. So if I can bounce it off here to make this player uncomfortable or force them to have to try to move out, then it's going to be something that's going to be more beneficial to our team. So now I want to talk about more of like where you're going to be shooting the bunker. Now, this isn't always going to be 100% exactly the case. So sometimes you might, depending on the angle that you're shooting it at, there's going to be some bounces that look like they work and then it actually skips way behind that player. So this is the kind of stuff that at practice, I'll even ask someone, hey, I tried this bounce, did that come close? And they might say, oh, dude, that was ridiculous. I had to tuck all the way in. Or you were shooting a bounce shot? And if I get a reaction like that, then I know, okay, not worth it. It's not going to be something that's going to be worth it at the event. Also at the event, sometimes bounce shots that worked aren't going to work at the event. You have to remember that the way that your field sets up the bunkers, might be a little bit different than at the event. Or even if it's like, you know, the people that set up the event are there, you know, setting up your field. Maybe you're lucky enough to be able to have that. There still could be subtle differences that just because it's moved over an inch more, that changes the whole bounce shot. Literally, this happened twice against Damage and against the Outlaws. I moved out into a bunker that there was a bounce shot off a Dorito into me at practice, worked great. Both of them tried it against me, and I was completely fine. Same thing goes for some of the center bunkers. There were some bounce shots that I was able to get out of the way of, just because maybe that pin was moved over just a little bit more, or maybe they shot it at not exactly the right spot. So I don't want this to be a hard and fast rule of what I'm about to explain, but it's at least a guide to kind of figure out, okay, if I want it to skip harder or just glance off the bunker, this is probably going to be something that's going to be a little bit better. So if I'm trying to make it go more straight in, like let's say this Dorito was up, or whatever bunker, it doesn't matter, I have a Dorito next to me, but let's say this Dorito has moved up a little bit, and I want it to go straight in, you're going to want to hit it closer to the middle. That's going to be able to hit it and go in. Now, the thing that's the issue with that is tournament paint is going to be more fragile, so it's probably going to break on the bunker. That's why you want to shoot a lot at it and shoot up and down the bunker as well. So if you only wanted it to glance off, let's say that there was another bunker over here and I could maybe skip it into that. Once you start hitting it further out onto here, or even like way out here, you got to think that it's only catching the ball a little bit and glancing it off to change that trajectory just a little tiny bit. The closer in that you get, it's going to be a lot harder. Now, if you're hitting the bunker directly in the middle, there are chances and there are times that it could bounce and go in like that. It's just not going to be as reliable. Sometimes that stuff works. I'm not going to say it's every single time, but sometimes you can get it where the ball will hit and go down. That could be something for someone in the snake that, you know, it drops in, and as long as the ball hits and breaks on the player and it came out of a marker, that player is eliminated. So you're able to, you know, try that kind of stuff. Also, sometimes when you're shooting those bounce shots, it might only go into the bunker. It might not go behind. So that's why you want to try to hit different sides of it. So if you're trying a bounce shot at practice, literally what we'll do is I'll stand in a bunker and shoot a certain shot and see if that bounce shot goes into one of my players. And then, you know, sometimes we might rotate around or whatever. Sometimes you get the short end of the stick and you need to go and be the one that gets shot at. But this is super, super beneficial, because if I'm in a bunker that I know, hey, if they start shooting this, I know I need to get out of here, or I need to lay down or figure out a different way to get out of the way of that, then that's going to be more beneficial to my team. It's better for me to stay alive than to try to battle crazy with someone that's doing a bounce shot, because it might just be that they're just sitting there just shooting, trying to get that bounce shot in there, and they don't even have to battle me. They don't even have to see me. They can just shoot and bounce into a certain spot. So that's not going to be the most ideal situation for me as a player to try to battle against that. I might need to come off and say, hey, this guy's doing that bounce. We've already talked about it. We already know that that bounce is there. You know, things like that. Now, there are going to be times that sometimes a ball just happens to go in the right spot. That's okay. What I'm talking about here is when you're looking at the field. Even you'll see when I do my field breakdowns, like the first impressions, I'm looking to see, hey, I think that bounce might work. And then there's other times when you're playing at practice, like I had mentioned before, oh, I think that might actually be able to go in. Same thing goes for really any bunker when I'm talking about this, like in and out. Depending on where it is that you hit it, it's going to bounce in that kind of direction. So again, if I'm shooting it on the edge, like if I'm shooting more on the edge, it's going to bounce not as hard. It's going to skip off. If I'm hitting it more here, it's going to bounce more in like that. As you get closer to the center, that's when you're going to have more of those shots coming in. Now, again, when you get closer to the center, you're going to have a lot more paint breaking on the bunker. So I wouldn't count on those, but if you shoot the bunker up and down, you're going to be able to have those kind of skip in. Maybe it gets the bunker a little bit slick, and that's going to help with the ball not catching on any, you know, little tiny ridges on there or seams, and make it be able to skip off. So these are all things that I know I'm throwing a lot at you, but hopefully helps you all out. And please be sure to put other requests down in the comments down below of other videos that you'd like to see. Thank you so much for your support, and I'll see you guys in the next video. But as always, remember, watch, learn, win. Thanks.